Good afternoon and happy Thursday, everyone. It is Scott Wohlers with River Place Capital. It is Thursday, April the 21st, and wanted to discuss what we saw in markets last week. We are now getting some corporate earnings in, with 17% of the S&P 500 reporting their corporate earnings, and wanted to discuss what we're seeing so far and our overall outlook for the markets moving forward. So a down week in the S&P 500 last week. The S&P 500 was down 2% on the week. And what was really amazing about that is the S&P 400, which is the mid-cap index, was positive 40 basis points, and the S&P 600, which is the small caps, was positive 80 basis points. Again, they're not those companies that have as much international exposure, and the fears that crept into markets last week is that the Fed and globally we're heading towards a growth slowdown. And so investors were focused more on companies that have more domestic exposure, where the U.S. consumer continues to be incredibly strong, as we got retail sales in last week, and they were expected to be a negative number, and we're up 0.5% for the month. And that is all encouraging news that we're seeing so far, is that the U.S. consumer remains strong. And we have gotten 17% of the earnings reports in. And what we're seeing is kind of a mixed bag. And it's more, most companies are beating, but the companies that aren't beating are your traditional, a lot of them are your traditional growth names, and companies that have been growing at exponential rates for many years. And what you're starting to hear from some of these growth companies is that the pandemic really pulled a lot of their growth forward, and that they're actually starting to see some slowdown. And then you compact that with higher interest rates and lower margins, and investors are really getting out of growth names. And I really wanted to put it into perspective. We've been talking a lot this year so far about the rotation from growth to value, and that's what the sectors are doing. But I wanted to give you some hard data and hard numbers to back that up. So as of last Friday, the value sector in the S&P 500 is down over 1.5%, and that's it, with a market that's down 9%. Flip that around, the growth sector in the S&P 500 is down over 14.5% for the year. So huge divergence between the two. And if you were in value, you'd be very happy compared to where you were if you're in very high-flying growth names. So that's where we are, as investors are saying and realizing in the rising interest rate environment that we're in, that the old economy and the old names, your industrials, your materials, your financials and energy, are companies that investors are flocking to. And they're flocking to them for two really good reasons. Number one is their positive cash flow, and two is their ability to return capital to shareholders. So investors are hearing the Fed speak, and as we talk now, Fed Chairman Jay Powell is speaking at an IMF event, and markets were higher this morning. And then he came out and said that there is that the possibility for a 50 basis point hike in May was on the table, and that sent markets south for the day today. And what that is telling you is investors are wary that the Fed is going to send us into, if at least, a growth slowdown, worst case scenario, recession. And so when investors fear growth slowdown or recession on the horizon, they are going to navigate more towards those value names that have the positive cash flow, that are able to return capital back to shareholders, as they're seeing a safer bet in slower growth times. So that's kind of where we see markets continuing to move throughout the year, as value continuing to be in the leadership role. Don't be surprised if you don't see some catch up here as we get some things sorted out, as if inflation starts to wane a little bit. Don't be surprised if you see a growth rally towards the end of the year. But we still believe overall for the S&P 500, we are going to finish the year on a positive note. So if you have questions about how to navigate this time in your portfolio, just give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. You can reach us at 904-346-3460. As always, check us out online at www.riverplacecapital.com. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks so much.